Hello, I am Tetsujin from the server Skelt, and this is my Grand Olympiad guide for Tyrants. As this is not a newbie guide, I will assume that people watching this guide are already familiar with the lineage to Classic and the Tyrant class. With the recent Secret of Empire update, Tyrants received a huge buff in the sense that we are no longer susceptible to every debuff in the game. What I mean by this is that we finally have Lionheart, which prevents us from getting stunned, slept, rooted, or paralyzed. Most of the time anyways. And this opens up a lot of room to make plays in the Grand Olympiad. Classes like Elemental Summoners and Destroyers, that before the recent patch were considered almost unkillable by Tyrants in the Grand Olympiad, are now a fair game. And why is that? Well, because most of the matches in the Grand Olympiad are played around the Guard and Benefaction talismans. The problem before the patch was that Tyrants had no resistance to any kind of incoming debuffs like stuns, petrification, and so on. So we almost always had to use the Guard talisman instead of Benefaction talismans, which were helping to avoid getting stunned or feared, but did not prevent you from taking huge amounts of damage, and in turn you would still lose the match. The prime example of that was a Tyrant versus Elemental Summoner matchup, where if you use the Guard Talisman, you're not getting stunned by the pony, but you're still taking those massive nukes which you can only take 2 or 3 at most, and you simply had no time to deal with the summoner himself. Or, if you did go for Benefaction Talisman, you were just getting permanently stunned by the pony, as it had 10-second stun with a 9-second cooldown. Well, with the Secret of Empire update, the tables are flipped. Now you can use Lionheart and 2 Benefaction Talismans in a row, which allow you to have a fair chance to win against the Elemental Summoner. Same goes for the Destroyer matchup. In the past, if you used the Guard Talisman, you would simply lose the match because the incoming damage was too much. And if you used the Benefaction Talisman, you would lose the match because you would get permanently stunned. Right now, exactly like in the matchup against Elemental Summoner, you can pop Lionheart, use double Benefaction and try to burst down the Destroyer. Which won't always going to happen if you're fighting a good player, but after the recent patch, Tyrants at least have a fighting chance. Sadly, Tyrants still have nothing that gives them mental resistance, so the apex predator of the Grand Olympiad, aka the Dark Avenger, is still the Crown King. There's simply no play to be made, you cannot win. Unless you're playing against a bad Dark Avenger, of course, which will happen from time to time. But overall, it takes a very bad Dark Avenger to lose against a Tyrant, and in all cases it takes a very good Tyrant to win against the Dark Avenger. There's not much change to the Necromancer matchup. You would still go for the double Guard Talisman and try to stunlock the Mage. And if it's not viable, for example, if they're wearing Majestic Robes, you just need to try to burst them down. That is unless if you're fighting a Necromancer that doesn't even try to debuff you, in which case, just pop the Benefaction Talisman and spank him. Let's talk Dagger classes. After the recent Secret of Empire update, they became very lethal opponent to fight against in the Grand Olympiad. That is because Daggers finally received a long promised bluff skill, which Lionheart counters a little bit by preventing you from not getting stunned. But note that your character, even if not stunned, will still turn its back towards the dagger. Daggers are very hard to fight against because they will always fight you on their terms and time. Meaning that in most cases you can expect the dagger to go into hide, use both Guard and Benefaction talismans. You will not going to be able to do neither significant damage on them, neither you will be able to stun them, and then they will jump you out of the cover. The most successful counterplay to this, I found, is to make them base their talismans as much as you can. You wait until the dagger initiates by going into hide. You pop Lionheart and use Benefaction talisman. When the first Benefaction talisman is about to end, you use your second Benefaction talisman. This is the 20 seconds that any thinking dagger player won't try to attack you because there's just nothing to get out of it. Finally, I pop the Celestial Shield and run away. Ideally to another side of the arena while being invincible to any kind of attacks for 10 seconds. After this is going to happen all over again. A dagger will go into hide. He will pop both guard and benefaction talismans once again and jump you. This time you have to survive. Don't give them your back for uneasy stabs, and in all that chaos, try to use Raging Force 5 times and then use a stun for a chance to stop a dagger in its tracks. All in all, there's a lot of luck involved when fighting daggers, as they all have buffs that give them a chance to dodge your physical skills. When it comes to the rest of the matchups, it's pretty much a fair game. If you play well, you will be able to win. And the strategies explained in this video applies for the rest of the classes also. It can be a gladiator or it can be a war crier. Assess the situation, pick the correct kind of talismans and execute your strategy. This is it for the short guide, and I wish you a good luck. If any of you will have any further questions, feel free to contact me on our server scale Discord. Wait, that's not an option anymore. Sorry. Well, message me in game via Tetsujin OG. See ya.